Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. Today we're taking a look at a figure that I've been wanting to get my hands on for a bit, but not exactly. This is Mastermind Creations' reformatted Spartan, which is their take on IDW's Impactor from what I've been able to put together based on the other videos that I've watched. Now, the reason I say this is a figure that I've kind of wanted to get my hands on for a while, but not, is because I actually wanted to get my hands on Commodus, which is their take on, I think the character's name is Turmoil. And it's basically this with like some slight molding differences and a predominantly black paint scheme. And I kind of want that figure more, but that figure has yet to get any kind of reissue, and it's also really hard to get a hold of for any even moderately reasonable price. Kind of sucks. But in the meantime, I did pick up Spartan, and it's really petty of me, but I like the mold overall. I like a lot of the things that are uniquely Spartan, but there's one thing that kind of puts me off this figure specifically and makes me wish that I was able to get a hold of Commodus. And that is the tank mode. I'll explain what exactly is bugging me in a minute. In a general sense, the tank's actually pretty cool. It's like this cute, stubby little, I know people have compared it to Metal Slug, and yeah, it's totally got like a Metal Slug vibe, kind of stubby tank. You got the treads underneath that are interestingly segmented. Like they kind of have like this curve to them that makes it look more like they're designed to like pull themselves over really rough terrain rather than simply, go across things. I like the gun sticking off the side there. I do like the color breakup, how you've got the gray and black for the tread sections, and then this like yellow like entirely on the bottom, and then purple predominantly for the little plow thing in the front and like the turret section and all that with like just yellow highlights. I think that's cool. There's a lot of detail in the yellow that I wish was picked out better. I actually have a repro label set for this guy on the way as I'm recording this, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get this video done, so that I could apply the repro labels, because I feel like he could definitely use them. I mean, what's here is fine. It's just that, like, this is, it's very yellow, and I just wish that there was a bit more to break up this mass, especially in vehicle mode here. But the other details are nice. Some nice detail on the turret, and this is another thing that kind of surprised me with this mold. When I was watching Vangelis's video on Spartan, he mentioned the fact that using these pistons hinders the turret movement, and it does, but it hinders it way more than I thought. Like, I thought it'd be able to turn a little bit and, like, still, I didn't feel like it needed to get the full range, so I still hook up the pistons, but, like, when you do it, this is all you get. Like, this is nothing. Like, this is practically nothing. There's so little turn to this turret that may as well not even be there at all. So, yeah, I feel like disconnecting those is probably better in the future. And I just didn't realize how extreme the restriction is on that. And now, for the thing that I really kind of dislike about Spartan, it's specifically the tank mode. I'm fine with the color layouts. There are things that I'm expecting to do to, like, deal with the color issues with the yellow and all that. I don't mind any of that. The thing that I don't like about Spartan, specifically with the vehicle mode, is the turret. Taken by itself, like, this gun turret thing is a nice design. I like the flat kind of design and the interesting shapes and the way that it kind of tapers, but also has this gap in there. It's not like a typical circle for a barrel. It's got more of like a almost disc-shaped thing. Like, this looks like it fires lasers as opposed to actual, like, cannonballs or anything like that, which is fine. And it kind of looks like something you'd see shooting at Godzilla. The problem that I have is this kind of pinched turret design in the front here, coupled with this extremely narrow barrel that, like, narrows like that, and the color scheme makes it look like a duck. It's a duck tank. Normally, I'm not bothered by goofy stuff with some of the toys that I have if the goofiness is intentional. Like Masterpiece G2 Sideswipe. I love how goofy he is with like the over-the-top shoulder spikes and like the sneer on his face and all that. But this doesn't seem intentional. I don't think he's supposed to look like a duck tank. But he does. And that bothers me. I'm just a little bummed. I don't regret getting Spartan. I want to be upfront with that. I just regret not getting Commodus. And this does not fill that gap. But for what it is, it's fine. It's a cute tank. I like everything about it except the duck face that he's got going on there. Like, seriously, now from any angle you look at it from the front there, it's totally a duck face. It's still like a solid vehicle mode. Like, it holds together well. It's a decent size. It's got some nice details that I kind of wish were picked out a little bit better. But it just really makes me wish that I'd gotten a hold of Commodus. Anyway, as I said, he's a pretty decent size, which you can see here as compared to a Cybertron Siege Deluxe. And I will be getting to these. But yeah, it's a decent size. Definitely a lot of bulk to him. And being the Mastermind Creations fanboy that I am, I couldn't resist doing comparisons with a few other MMC figures. So there he is with Nitro, which is, for those who are unfamiliar, it's a remold of their Calidus, I think is what they called it. It's supposed to be IDW Rodimus. And, it's a tank. It's bigger than the car. Like, the footprint of the vehicle is relatively the same between the two of them, but this one's definitely, like, bulked out and up a lot more. Of course, we can't talk about things being bulked up without talking about Dicamus, and Dicamus is a beast. Even compared to a tank, this vehicle mode is monstrous. And they do look good together. I mean, he looked good with Nitro as well. But, like, these two especially, just the angles that they use in the sculpt, some of the line work in the texturing and stuff, they both look like they definitely fit in the same universe, in the same world. That being said, I feel like non-stickered Dicamus would probably fit better with the non-stickered Spartan, because, I mean, this guy looks so great with those little details that have been added. So I feel like once I get some additional details added to him, he's also going to fit a little bit better and also look better, though he'll still have the duck face. Can't do much about that. But yeah, I mean, I like Spartan as a figure. It's just the duck tank that I can't get past. It legitimately makes me not all that anxious about transforming him, which is sad because the transformation's actually really interesting and done really well. And it's a nicely made figure, like I said, but I just don't like the way this looks, and it makes me not want to get to this mode because I think it looks silly. And I feel like if I had Commodus, I'd be much more inclined to transform it back and forth. Though I will say one thing that I like that Spartan does that Commodus doesn't, aside from the barrel becoming a shoulder cannon, which we'll look at more in robot mode, I like how he's got these little extra guns on the sides and the front there. That's a neat touch. Also kind of thinking maybe I want to go in there and detail those up a bit, because again, it kind of gets lost in the yellow, but I do like that he's got the additional guns there. But yes, I think that is enough harping on this vehicle mode that's both good but also a little bit disappointing in one specific aspect that I can't seem to move past. So let's try to move past it and get to the robot mode. And there we have Spartan in his robot mode, and from the handful of images I've seen, he does indeed evoke IDW's version of Impactor. As you'd expect, I don't have that much of a prior knowledge in the character or the comics or anything like that, but aesthetically it seems to fit the bill. And now here, I'm not so bothered. Like, I think the robot mode looks cool. I don't mind the colors at all. You know, it's all interesting stuff. And I think the shoulder cannon actually ends up looking pretty cool. It's just that duck tank. I just can't get past the duck tank. But anyway, color-wise, what I think is really interesting about his robot mode versus the tank mode is the fact that the placement of the color is actually kind of the same. You have a vast majority of the yellow being used on the bottom, and then the top is primarily purple with yellow accents. It's really interesting to me how this is surprisingly evocative of the way his color was laid out in tank mode, with the addition of the gray thighs, and that gray doesn't really appear anywhere else. It doesn't necessarily bother me, it's just a little strange that like you've got this color only appearing right here, and that's it. Yeah, overall, this looks good. And unlike his vehicle mode, I don't feel like he needs a lot of little details to be filled in here, because, I mean, there are details, but things are broken up enough, both due to the just natural shadows as they fall across the legs here, and like the little bits of color here and there, like the red for the knees, and then the gray, which isn't anywhere else, and then like the nice breakup along the upper body between the yellow and the purple and sometimes silver. It breaks everything up nicely. I still think it'll look better with those repro labels that I'm getting, but I don't think they're as necessary in this mode as they are with the vehicle mode. And proportionally, he's pretty cool. He's got like a pretty tough and powerful silhouette. He's got the big Mega Man style boots, which is kind of fun. I like those, actually. I also like the asymmetry going on with the harpoon hand and the regular hand, and also the shoulder cannon is just neat. So overall, pretty cool looking robot mode in just a looking at everything as a whole kind of sense. And moving on to the feet, there's the little cannons that were, the little added guns that were sticking out. Where can I get them? Why are you not coming out? There we go. Little guns, so you could give him gun toes if you wanted. I still think that would have been cool as a feature on Commodus, but I don't have Commodus, so I can't say for certain. I really like how the sides, like the bottom sides of the tank mode, fold up into each other to make the legs. And it's a nice contrast where if you look at him from the side or the back, you've got the treads just kind of sandwiched in the backs of his legs for his calves. You actually get some nice detail here, so like seeing this makes me wonder why they didn't do more with this. Because they clearly could. But anyway, it's nice, and I like the color contrast as well. And I do think it's interesting how when you're looking at them from the front, you don't even see the tank treads. So realistically speaking, if you're looking at them just from this angle, you don't necessarily see a vehicle mode in this. That's pretty cool. But then, of course, if you look at them from the back, then you do get some vehicle stuff going on with like the treads. But even then, it's not that much. And the little front bit with the pistons and everything kind of form a neat little backpack. Looks a little bit like a tiny turtle shell, but it doesn't like get in the way or stand out too much, so it doesn't really bother me. And also you can picture this as like an exhaust vent or something on his back. And moving along, there are some nice vent and rivet details on the upper legs, and some nice details going on here. I feel like the waist section could have a little bit more color breakup there. The repro labels might actually offer that, I don't know. But yeah. And in here, he's got these midriff guns that are... These actually kind of remind me of the guns that were in his toes. So I don't know if that's what those are supposed to be or what, but it's a nice kind of design callback, I think. The arms are, you know, pretty simple affair. I did have an issue with this thing popping off a lot. It's since seemed to have kind of solidified itself, much like everyone else seems to have problems with, and Vangelis mentioned in his video as well. But yeah, it's fine, and it doesn't really hinder the articulation like I thought it would, because, I mean, it keeps you from moving the elbow back in an unnatural manner, but you can get it nice and straight. and it doesn't really get in the way. Like, it doesn't break up the silhouette at all. It tucks kind of nicely behind the forearm, so that's cool. And the shoulders are just shoulders. It's nothing particularly special about them, I don't think, though I kind of like the layered effect that they've got going here. And also the little silver vent and silver rivet. Not rivet, but like this detail as well. The chest, I really like this for the robot mode chest. It's a shame that the turret doesn't have this kind of detail. I mean, I know this is like the back of the turret, but this is a really, really interesting design because you've got like that purple with the yellow back there, and then also this kind of metallic-y, sky bluey kind of lining going through. I don't know why that's just like there and like a little bit here. I kind of wish that that was going through a few more areas. Maybe look like, you know, his vascular system or something. I don't know. But it's cool that you've got these kind of details going through. You've got the silver bars on the chest, and then you've got these bits here that are covering up, like partially obscuring that yellow and blue and purple combination there that are painted nice and silver. But like, these are separate pieces. If you look at them from other angles, you can see like they're attached down here, but no, that's a better angle. There you can see they're attached down here, but like that's it. They're like pipes sticking out of his chest and covering up that part of his pectoral section, which is a weird kind of thing. I'm not sure particularly why he would need some kind of roll bar on his chest, but it's cool. It looks neat. I like it. And lastly, for the head section, again, we've got that tank turret as a shoulder cannon. And I do like, I said this with both Make Toys Gundog and Make Toys, what is it with Make Toys lately? Make Toys Gundog and Make Toys Downbeat, that I like the shoulder cannon look. It's pretty cool. And I like it here, and I think that this is a really cool shoulder cannon. I just don't think it's a great tank turret, or tank gun barrel, whatever you want to call it. The head is, I like it. I remember in Vangelis' video, which I'm just going to continually reference, I'm sorry, was talking about how people took issue with the panel lining for the helmet detail. It doesn't bother me at all. The only thing for me is I wish that this was done elsewhere to kind of cohesively tie more things together. But that is something I can do myself afterwards, like after this video is done. But the actual design I like very much. Like you can definitely see why they call him Spartan, because he's got that Frank Miller design kind of Spartan helmet look. And you get the yellow and purple again, which is nice, and the silver. So aside from the eyes, which are this very nice metallic green, you don't get any new colors, but that's fine. And he's got a sort of sneer similar to G2 Sideswipe, but not as exaggerated. I feel like if they exaggerated it as much as G2 Sideswipe, it'd be a little bit, like, I don't think it'd work, because this figure as it is not really cartoonishly over the top on purpose. It's just, you know, a hard-boiled leader of the Wreckers, from what I understand. I don't know that much. I really need to catch up on the basics of videos. I don't know why it took me so long to to start watching Chris McFeely's stuff. But it's a good robot, and I also said this already, but I like the silver for the harpoon hand. It's fun. He looks like he's a bot who's been through some stuff. And I have, as I said, I haven't read the comics, but I can only assume he has definitely been through some stuff. But he does look cool. I like his robot mode a lot. It's just that vehicle mode and the duck tank. I'm sorry I keep coming back to that, but I can't avoid it. Now moving along to size comparisons, here he is with a Cybertron Siege Deluxe. And yeah, he's definitely a big fellow. Though interestingly, I know they're not from like the same universe or anything like that, but like the detailing and angles and shapes on Hound here don't look all that out of place when compared to the same stuff on Spartan. Not saying that like he doesn't have the same aesthetic overall, but like he doesn't look terribly out of place. And here he is with the other MMC characters that I've already done the comparisons with, and it's interesting, like height-wise he's the same height as Nitro, but bulk-wise he's actually kind of in the middle of these two. it's interesting. It's like he definitely fits aesthetically, but I kind of like how just different his silhouette is compared to the other two. And it makes sense that it would be different. And it's not like I haven't done comparisons with figures that have different silhouettes before, but I don't know. I just I can appreciate how different the three of them are when they're lined up. And it's like they look different, but they still look like they belong together. And that can sometimes be a tricky thing to pull off. I mean, I've already established that I'm a Mastermind Creations fanboy at this point, I think. But I still think that it is impressive that they were able to do that with these. Now, Spartan's color scheme does look a little bit pastel when compared to the other two, particularly with Dicamis's orange. Dicamis's orange is a lot brighter and more saturated, whereas Spartan's yellow is fairly chalky and pastel looking. And like the shades here, Nitro's a bit of an exception because she's sort of like a remold, repaint that's homaging a completely different character that wasn't really part of this originally, I don't think. But with like Dicamis, the brown is a similar finish and sort of tone as Impactor's purple and yellow. But that orange is kind of an outlier. But then you've got a more bright and vibrant red on Nitro that kind of fits more with Dicamis's orange. And yeah, not really complaints, just observations. Spartan just seems a little bit kind of, I don't want to say flat, but like slightly desaturated when compared to the other figures here. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, it's just a thing. Though looking at all of them lined up like that, it just... Every time I see him on camera, I'm going to bring him back, I'm sorry. Every time I see him on camera, I just love looking at Dicamis. He has, like I said in the in my top 10 video for the year, he just has a really, really nice presence. And he looks so great. I love Dicamis. This isn't about Dicamis, but I'm gushing about Dicamis anyway, I'm sorry. And actually seeing these two side by side, haha, there was a reason, I'm making it up right now, but it totally works. Let's roll with it. Seeing these two side by side, this actually works pretty darn well. That might be because they're both wreckers. At least I think that's what they are. Again, you know, I'm not super up on the lore or anything like that, but like I'm pretty sure they're both wreckers. And I could see that. There is a difference here, but like without Nitro kind of throwing things off because her deco is not quite in line with everything else because she was more of a special homage. Technically all of these are homages, but you know what I mean. Looking at just these two, they definitely go well together. I could see these two being part of a team. Anyway, that's enough segueing. Let's get back to Spartan / Impactor himself. And at this point, I'm kind of done talking about him, I think. I feel like I've said all that I wanted to say. But to reiterate, I do think that the vehicle mode is kind of a disappointment based almost entirely on the duck tank turret. And I feel like if that turret was shaped differently, I wouldn't be bothered anywhere near as much. But I really can't argue with the robot mode. Like, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the color scheme, but it's definitely grown on me. And I feel like once I get those repro labels, that's also going to be great, because like those are going to add some yellow and black construction striping in different places, and I think that'll actually look really good on this guy. But that is enough about what I think. What do you all think of Mastermind Creations Spartan? Are any of you out there lucky enough to have Commodus? And if it came down, like if you have both or could do a comparison between the two, which one do you prefer? I feel like I know I would prefer Commodus's vehicle mode, but I'm not super sure on the robot modes, because I mean, Commodus is cool, but like very monotone, which I know is the point, but Spartan definitely has, it's easier to see some of the details on him, even though I was complaining about how some details could be called out better. And in terms of representation of the character / figure or whatever, how do you all feel this stacks up? Because as I said, I have no real knowledge, really, of the IDW comics or the Wreckers or Impactor or any of that stuff, though more and more I'm really kind of wanting to learn more about them. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.